The time is just turning 6:54 on this Thursday morning, and here's what you need to know before you go. Former CIA Director John Brennan wants a federal court to order the Trump administration to preserve records tied to a Justice Department investigation into him. In a lawsuit filed, Brennan claims the administration is pursuing a politically motivated prosecution. He argues officials have publicly labeled him a criminal before any indictment or conviction. Meanwhile, two people have been arrested after climbing up the Empire State Building in New York City yesterday in an act of love and peace. One of the individuals appeared to propose to the other before embracing. They made their descent, where they were met with officials to help them finish their climb and then also take them into custody. And Minnesota's new social media warning law requires pop-up mental health warnings on certain apps, including information for the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. But a tech lobby group called NetChoice has sued to block the law. The Minnesota Attorney General says the state won't enforce that new law until the case is resolved. And two people are injured after a crash near Cook, including one St. Louis County Sheriff's deputy. A Ford pickup was driving on Samuelson Road last night around 8, failed to stop at a stop sign, and then crashed into an off-duty deputy driving on Highway 1, according to the State Patrol. The 20-year-old man driving the pickup was taken to Essentia Hospital in Duluth with life-threatening injuries. The 50-year-old off-duty deputy was taken to a local hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The cause of that crash is still under investigation. And residents here in Duluth have until July 9th to sign up for a free carbon monoxide alarm installation, with a limited number of alarms left and first-come, first-served spots inside Duluth city limits. You can request an installation using one of the methods there on our screen.